Elden Ring came out on February 25th, 2022. We just got it. We've started it. It's amazing. What are your thoughts?
Well, obviously, the two of us are on opposite sides of the spectrum as far as Souls games knowledge, because you've fallen in love with this franchise, and I'm over here having not even like played barely any of the original Dark Souls, which I only bought because you forced me to. No, I'm just kidding, because I just you told me to get it, so I picked it up. And then I see this game. I see the first, like, I guess, beta testing from all these people I like. And honestly, Dark Souls, the first game, in a lot of ways reminds me of Monster Hunter, especially the older games, because it's all about heavy movement and it's strategic, but not in like and not like in a Japanese RPG way. It's strategic in movement, and so like a lot of the Monster Hunter YouTubers that I follow were covering Elden Ring. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to buy this game, even though I didn't even like get anywhere near finishing Dark Souls. I'm gonna have to pick this up because it looks awesome. And then I saw more footage and it won me over. So that's the reason why I'm honestly I'm gonna call this my first Dark Souls like game because of how little I played of Dark Souls. But I'm definitely going back and playing more Dark Souls after I further myself in this game.
Yeah, see, I technically had my first Souls game or from software was Sekiro, and that was because it won Game of the year it came out. So I was like,
Right.
oh, I'll check this out. I didn't get super far into it, and then I started streaming last year. I decided to start Dark Souls, and that game really, really won me over. That's in my top 10 games of all time now. I absolutely love that game. And I started Dark Souls 2, was loving that. I really wanted to have beaten Dark Souls 2 and 3 before I started this, but the idea of a new From Software coming out and being able to play it at launch while everyone's
Right.
discovering the meta, defeating all these bosses at the same time, it's something I didn't want to miss out on. Because, like, being in the Dark Souls 1 community, or seeing the Dark Souls community now, I'm seeing it from a future perspective of what they were seeing back then. And I didn't really get to engage with them as much. This is really bringing more people back to it, and getting to experience that firsthand now is amazing. Especially with like some of these bosses to me are way like the first boss so far. I'm not going to get too far into who it is or anything, but the first story boss of Elden Ring kicked my butt. It took more tries for me than two of the hardest bosses in Dark Souls combined. Um, and I mean I'm happy about that. Like, that's what I want. I want this game to absolutely destroy me, and it'll just make me better in the long run.
So what you're saying is someone who's never played it before is going to have an absolute nightmare.
Yes, yes.
Or played a From
Well,
Software game.
see, I say that, but I have my best friend. He recently got Elden Ring because he's been hearing all the hype about it. He hasn't played any Dark Souls game, anything. Where I took on the first boss maybe 50 to 60 tries, he did it in like 7, shirtless, without a shield. I don't understand. He's the same class as me. He was the same level, and yet he just did it that easily. I don't know how he's this good, but
I don't know why you had to
I don't
mention
know.
that he was shirtless while he was playing. Oh, you meant his character? Oh, my bad.
Yes, his character. He's just showing that for fun too. He has armor, but he just wants to do it shirtless, and I don't know. I somehow have to get to his level at some point.
Yeah, I don't think I ever would, because everybody knows that I'm terrible at video games. Hey, I beat Hollow Knight
It happens.
somehow, which is basically 2D Dark Souls. So
See, that's the game that I dropped off on after barely playing any of it.
you'll go back to it. You will.
I will.
Um, so I have just reached this boss that you're talking about as of literally an hour, 30 minutes, somewhere in between there of us recording this. And yeah, it's pretty difficult. I think I'm going to take the route of just messing around and leveling up to get myself over level before I start taking on these bosses. Um, but also, so I noticed that there was like you can like spawn in like a pawn, and I did that the first time I attempted the boss. That's easy mode, right?
Oh,
Essentially.
the like NPC sorcerer outside the room.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a classic Dark Souls thing. It's one sort of a tutorial for how you would summon in friends to do it, but it's also a way to make fights easier in a way. I say that in a way because if you do summon in somebody, it makes the boss's health higher.
Huh.
So if they just destroy the NPC, you're gonna have even tougher time. So it's kind of a trade off. Normally, those summons that you can bring in are actual NPCs in the game that you'll be able to meet. So I would be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I did that the first time, and then that was the furthest I got along with the boss. So I figured it made it easier. So I didn't do it the second time. I was wondering what that was. I didn't know if it was gonna like summon a random player from online, like make it more MMO. I have no idea. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna check this out, and I did not do it the second time. But now I'm sort of backtracking because I didn't immediately go to the first objective that it sets, but I didn't do a whole lot of extra exploring because I'm probably only like 4 hours, maybe less into the game. Um, and so I I was getting tackled by a lot of uh, random enemies in the field, so I was like, all right, whatever. I'm just gonna go for the main objective. So I made my way up and then got to the boss recently. So I'm gonna go back and try to find some NPCs potentially, and then also that I know that there's some random bosses sprinkled in. I've came across a couple of them now. Um, I don't know. I don't know if those are more difficult than this first boss, and you're supposed to come back, or if they're gonna be like a a good boss to fight to get prepared to like get good equipment in order to go face this first one. I have no idea, but honestly, I'm having a fun time sort of just messing around so far that I don't have a problem with going back and leveling up more.
hmm Yeah, a lot of these games is just, especially coming in as a new player, is learning all the systems because there's a lot of things the game doesn't tell you that you either have to have someone who knows tell you, or you have to just figure it out. Um, so that's partly the fun in it, but it can be a little difficult at first. Like one of the main ways, a couple of the main ways you get stronger in the game, it doesn't tell you at all. So there's a thing called scaling in it, and basically depending on how high your stats are, your weapons that scale by that get stronger. The game doesn't tell you that. You just kind of have to know or have someone tell you. Um, and I'm sure a lot of people coming in, that's a big issue, is not getting enough damage output just because they don't know how. And it's not a complaint I have with the game. I think that's kind of the magic of it is learning its systems. I think that's a big thing in Monster Hunter too, right? I haven't played a
Yeah,
lot of it. Is
that's exactly the same thing. More recently, they've done a better job of explaining things, and from what I understand, there's some quality of life fixes in this Elden Ring as well compared to some of the older ones. But yeah, the older games just they just drop you in and don't explain anything. And part of the fun is getting plugged into that community. And I mean, Monster Hunter is more multiplayer focused, and so like having veterans explain systems to you. Like when I first started playing those games, that was how I learned. Was not really through the internet, but having people who I played with explain things to me, um, and then sort of the roles reversing now. I welcoming new fans into the series. I get to be that veteran, and so I've been considering like going around and watching, because right now I'm literally playing the game blind. I did watch those beta tests from Rurikon, one of the Monster Hunter YouTubers that I like. Other than that, I really have not watched much on this game at all, other than that first big trailer that they showed off for like gameplay at the Summer Game Fest, I think it was. Maybe that was 2021, or maybe it was earlier. I don't know. It was a while ago. So like I really only saw like in total three clips of gameplay in total, and And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll play this blind. But now I'm starting to be like, well, maybe I should go watch some videos on it. But I mean, you're always there to help me out as well, so that helps.
True, true. Um, so as someone coming in blind, I saw quite a few. I mean, I watched the actual release trailers several times. They were beautiful. But I want to wonder. I was wondering your opinion on the opening cinematic cutscene with the paintings. What did you think of that when you first saw it?
So I was a little bit distracted because we were playing it in Discord.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was really good, but a lot of what they were talking about, I didn't know what in the world it meant.
See, yeah, that's kind of what's great about it. Is it's similar. I think having with how far I am, I have no definitive things, but a lot of it I can see kind of where it's going in the same vein as Dark Souls. Dark Souls 1 has this opening cutscene,
Yeah.
and it goes over a lot of the main bosses you'll be fighting in the game, but you don't know who they are. So when you come back for a replay, you see these people, and it's like, wow, I know them. I've beaten them, and it's trust me, it's so cool when you come back to it. And so I also have a question for you. Are you aware previously with what this game is? This story is as a collaboration, like who the main writers were?
No. Game of Thrones guy, right?
Yeah. So
Okay,
basically, the guy who wrote the Game of Thrones books, not the show.
Okay.
He was, at least from what I heard, he had some familiarity with the worlds of the Dark Souls games and Bloodborne and everything. So he was a fan. He reached out to Hidetaki Miyazaki, I'm pretty sure that's his name, and said he wanted to collab. So essentially, they had George R. R. Martin, the guy who wrote the books, create all the background lore. So a lot of what they said in that opening trailer was that it was the background lore of the world, and then Miyazaki wrote everything else.
Wow.
So it's a big collaboration between two fantasy veterans.
Yeah, sounds like it. And they resurrect Tolkien to help as well?
If only. That's where the ring comes from.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it does seem like sort of a spiritual successor to a lot of those older fantasy books and more recent fantasy books as well, like Game of Thrones, and I think that's super cool. It's obviously there's a lot of passion poured into that, and I can already see it even though I'm only a few hours into the game. Especially like with the round table stuff, like going in there and talking to some of the NPCs, and I'm like, I don't know what in the world half the things these people are saying, but it's pretty profound.
Exactly.
Like I can already tell that in their
thing.
speech they're making references to places and people, and I don't know what in the world they mean, but obviously there's tons of world building.
See, that's kind of how a lot of these plots are. Like like the Dark Souls original plot. The plot of these games are pretty simple. Like the overall plot. The original plot of Dark Souls was just rekindle the first flame. That's it. That's the whole plot. But there's so much deeper world building and lore that you can learn, where it's like this giant puzzle that you're unraveling through hearing people talk and reading item descriptions, and it's really fun to just unravel it. Like it's beautiful. It's a different type of storytelling for sure. It's less direct, more like you have to pay attention and really look for things.
And there's quite a few, maybe not quite a few, but I can think of a couple other games like that come to mind for that type of storytelling. And I do appreciate that because it means that however much effort you want to put into learning the story, that's how much you're going to get back. And if you don't want to have a story forced down your throat, then you don't have to worry about it. Like, if all you're there for is the gameplay, then that's all you're going to get, really. But I think that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the developers really they give a lot of freedom to the players. Like you can do pretty much anything you want. That was especially it's a lot different in their world design. Obviously, in this game, going to open world, because the original Dark Souls. I keep saying original. There was Demon Souls beforehand, but Dark Souls is the main one that I've played. So, Dark Souls, it's very linear, but if you know what you're doing, you can like skip so much. Like I could start a file right now in Dark Souls Remastered and go all the way to like the 8th boss firsthand.
What in the world?
And yeah, it's all because of just understanding the way the map works and going to different places, picking up the right things, finding the right doors, and their world design, especially coming into this first main like castle area in the game, you really start to feel some of that Dark Souls blood, that world design where there's something around every corner. There's all these little secrets. Like you could literally pass by some bosses in the game without even knowing it, and it's like I didn't even know that was there.
So I haven't got past that boss, but already like looking towards the architecture and stuff that I can see off in the distance, I was already starting to get those vibes. So I'm excited to get past it and start to explore.
Yeah, they're really bringing a lot of the classic DNA into this, but in new ways. Ones where it's more cohesive as a larger world, but still retaining that same sense of discovery and exploration.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was a little bit afraid that the open world would feel sort of empty, because like that's some sort of been a staple of a lot of open world games recently. Even to an extent, Breath of the Wild felt like there was just, why is this field here? You know, there's nothing to do in this field. But no, that's not really how it's been so far. There's always something to kill you, and
around every corner.
Yeah, and I like the horse element, especially like how you can just summon him in at any point, because it's like, well, I tried attacking this camp and I was underpowered, so I'm just gonna bolt, you know. But the game apparently is like exploding, like really doing super well. So I saw an article today. The UK always gets their numbers out so fast, but the UK, this is the biggest game sales-wise since Call of Duty Vanguard. So it outsold Horizon Forbidden West, which is crazy to me because Horizon is way more casual, I feel like, way more mainstream. But this is on multiple platforms.
Absolutely.
Second, though, it said excluding FIFA and Call of Duty, so those two giant staples of the UK, this is the biggest game sales-wise since Red Dead 2, as far as like opening weekends goes.
Wow.
So it's doing very, very well, and I feel like they're really breaking into the mainstream. And I've already seen tons of people rage quitting and stuff online.
Yeah, already returning their game, saying it needs an easy mode.
What's going to happen when
the
God of War guy gets his hands on it, and then it's like, just like when he played Metroid Dread. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, I haven't. What did he do?
So in Metroid Dread, this is a little bit off topic, but it's funny. When he played the director for the God of War remake or remaster reboot thingy from 2018. He played Metroid Dread on stream and was like getting really mad at it, because one thing that the game tells you right at the beginning is if you lost, you need to use your missiles to shoot walls. And like there's obviously a very sort of like bombing a wall in Zelda. There'll be areas where you have to shoot the wall with your missiles. And he was like saying how there was never a tutorial for this because he got stuck on this one area where he had to shoot the ceiling. And he was like, this is the worst game. Like, this is a terrible game design. And because the game's hard too. So that's sort of been a meme recently. I wonder, they're adding an easy mode into Metroid Dread. I wonder if it was because of him. Because that's coming as DLC is easy mode. Crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if he's not played a Metroidvania before.
I wonder if he's never played a hard game before.
That could also be it. Yeah, I mean, God of War. I love God of War 2018. That's one of my favorite games. There wasn't that much super hard in it. There were the Valkyries, which were like secret bosses post game that were pretty difficult. But there wasn't anything like that where like you could really get lost. It was always very explicit about where you had to go. So he probably considers that a virtue.
Yeah.
He doesn't really want you to figure things out for yourself, at least in his own game.
Yeah, well, I think it's good to have diversity, and obviously like Metroid and a lot of these indie games like Cuphead and now Elden Ring, more from software games, like, and Sekiro. Like seeing more difficult games be mainstream is kind of awesome. It's like, how many times are the charts just going to be GTA and Call of Duty every single month after month? Like, now have it. So Metroid is already. I mean, Metroid's super obscure, really, compared to a lot of these things, and it broke into the charts, and now I wouldn't call From Software games super obscure for mainstream, but like they obviously are not at that same level of sales as Call of Duty, and the fact that it's like the biggest selling game since Call of Duty Vanguard is in the UK is super awesome.
Yeah, the From Software games are ones where it at least in the past it's always had its core fan base, and it didn't really stretch out too much outside of that. I think part of it being open world has really brought a lot of people in, because that's the new big thing for single player games is open world. Every game has to be open world now, which I'm not upset about, but it is what it is. But I think that is bringing a lot more people in. I think a lot of people are going to come in not expecting it to be this hard because they haven't played older games, and that could be a problem for some people. But people really just need to do their research before coming in, because I mean, the fan base knows what we're getting into. We know this is going to be hard, and that's what we want. And if you're coming into our fan base saying this is bad game design, we want this easier, it's like, no, this is what we wanted. Please leave.
Right. Yeah, that's a weird mixture. I feel like playing lots of retro games more recently has given me a much higher tolerance for difficulty in games. I mean, also I grew up playing a lot of really hard games too, so. But I like the movement in the game. It seems to be much faster.
Oh yeah.
But like at the same time, that the sluggishness of your heavy swing and all that, like, it's still there, and I think that's great.
Well, see, one thing I have kind of noticed, it seems, I mean, one, they've been, with this game, they've taken a lot of mechanics from a lot of the different games, like mechanics that are only in Dark Souls 2, or mechanics that are only in Sekiro, and they're combining it all into one amazing combat system. But it seems they're making it difficult in different ways. So, like, stamina, at least with the build I have, hasn't been as much of an issue as it was in Dark Souls. I'm almost never out of stamina. I have plenty of it, but I'm still getting trashed by the enemy. It's like they've made the enemy faster, they've made the enemy smarter. And
like that. I felt that too. Like, I can dodge and dodge and dodge from this first boss we were talking about, but his range is just so insane. Like, he can hit me from halfway across the arena, and then he's got ranged attacks as well. So, like, you can run away all you want, but that's why I really have not put much effort into my stamina so far when it comes to upgrading. Like, because my stamina has not really been much of a problem, because I can get away, but I've mainly just, I think it's, obviously there has to be strategy in what and how you're dodging. It's not just, okay, I need to just get away, but I've been trying to sort of pick up on the pacing for this first boss of, okay, because like you could dodge to the side of him, but then he has like a swing that goes 180 degrees, so like, but then if you dodge too far away, he's got his ranged attack. Like, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it was a really tough fight, and funnily enough, about the endurance thing is, I was watching my friend who's doing a sorcery build, and casting spells actually drains your stamina, and I thought he needed more stamina than I did as a like up close and personal fighter, because of how much that takes out every time. So the necessity of stamina has kind of changed. Like per build, class. Like yeah, what you're going for.
And so, to be like, clear, me and Hayden are both doing samurai.
Yeah. So I'm probably gonna be going dexterity and faith mostly. So I can get some healing spells. I can get pyro, because in this game they did combine pyro more with faith, because in Dark Souls they had 3 magic systems: sorcery, faith, and pyro. Fire was a big thing narratively with Dark Souls. In this, so less. so they just combined it all with faith. So it's nice. It made it more simple. Added more to faith, because I know faith builds in the past weren't great, but I think they're a lot better now in this game. So I'm really excited to actually get more levels into faith, get some cool incantations and stuff.
So if I started leaning towards intelligence, what is that going to get me?
So intelligence is more for sorcery.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. Also, mind is your FP, your blue bar. So if you're going into like sorcery or faith, you're gonna really want to upgrade your mind, and
because so far I haven't upgraded that at all because I haven't had a use for it.
Yeah. So if you do go into one of the magic systems, you're probably gonna, at least for good levels, you're gonna have to dump quite a bit into intelligence if you're going for sorcery, because a lot of them have minimum requirements that are decently high.
And does that map to one of your weaponry basically, so I could replace my bow essentially with? Is that how that works? Or
well, so you normally need something to be able to cast spells. So for sorcery, you need a staff.
Okay.
And then you'll have to get a spell either through picking it up or buying it, and then at a site of grace, you'll have to memorize the spell. And then you can swap between spells with up on the D-pad. That's what your empty slot is, and you'll have to have your staff in hand, and then you use it. It costs FP and stamina, and normally it'll. There's some things that'll, I think, have arcane requirements, but mostly for sorcery, you'll just need a certain level of intelligence.
And your the flasks that you're given, the blue one is obviously an FP replenisher, right? So have you given all of your flasks to health rather than that, since right now there's no use for FP basically as a samurai?
I have. Well, so I do actually use quite a bit of FP, because I know you haven't used this too much, but your L2 moves, your Astral War moves, when you're two-handing, those do use FP. So like the sheath attacks, those use it, and the power shot with the bow use that. So I do use my FP a decent bit, not enough to justify losing a heal. So I do have all my flasks of heal right now. Once I go more into faith and start using spells, I'll probably switch some over.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to send me the button combination for those moves again, so I can look into it. And also, I got to figure out how to get crafting, because now I still don't have any arrows left, and that might be useful for this boss. I don't know if you used any arrows. For this.
I did not. No.
Okay. All right. Well, we've been going for almost 30 minutes now, so we should probably wrap it up because.
Wow.
Because that's a lot of B-roll,
right.
you know? That's a lot of B-roll.
Yeah. That did not feel like 30 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, it's been going quite a while. We need to start a podcast again, I think.
I know. That's making me miss it.
Good old times. That was 3 years ago almost now.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, we are going to wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. Go ahead and check out the game if you have not already, because, I mean, obviously as a new fan, I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm very surprised by it, and obviously Hayden has nothing but good things to say as well. So we're going to wrap it up there, and we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye.